So, welcome to the session. We are studying the book Experiencing Being. So, we had completed up to page 18. Today, we resume from page number 19. At the top of the page 19. Just a reminder, why are we studying this book? Because, because this book is very important. It gives practical guidance for life. And, like we talked about it, I think one time that everything that we use in our life, there are instructions on how to make full use of it. But for life itself, there are no instructions. We are born, we live this life, and while we are living, it is the most important thing, right? But we unfortunately do not have instructions on how to make better use of life, how to live the life, what is the proper way of living. So it's books like these by spiritual teachers such as Master Chokok Sui that provide us the necessary instruction. That is why these books are very important. All right, page 19. Problems in life make you stronger and more compassionate. I think in the course of our book study, we have come across this sutra or something like this sutra many times. I don't know if you remember that, but I think we have come across this a few times. So essentially, what Master says is that you need problems to make us stronger. If there were no problems in life, we would be perpetually in a sort of a comfort zone. No need to develop, no need to increase our abilities. So, like you go to a gym, you to build muscles, you have to lift weights. So in life, the weight, the the weights that you have to lift are the problems, are the difficulties. As you try to solve them, you see, now that is important. When we are faced with a difficulty, we always have two choices. Choice number one is to face it. Choice number two is to escape it, to avoid it. Now, if you are going to escape it or avoid it, your muscles will not develop. This, I think, this sutra makes sense to me at least. When you say, okay, here is a problem, let me try to solve it or let me try to face it. It's when you try to face it, deal with it, solve it, है ना? जब आप उससे स्थिति से उलझेंगे, अगर उलझेंगे नहीं, उससे बच के निकल जाएंगे, तो nothing will happen. You will not learn anything. You will not grow. It is when you look at the problem, you face the problem, you deal with the problem, and you say, let me try to solve the problem. That is when your muscles will develop. What muscles are we talking about? Not necessarily of the physical body, but the emotional muscles, the mental muscles, and even the spiritual muscles. Because that is the time when your spirituality is tested. You may be a big you may be studying books and doing practices and meditations all the time, but when you are faced with the difficulty, do you face the difficulty remembering that you are the soul? That is the test of you. So that is where your spiritual muscles get developed. Yeah. All right. Shall we move on? At any time, you are free to, I would invite you to ask any question, or if there's something you want to discuss, please, either type the message or you can unmute and ask the question. All right. Shall we move forward? Do not blame other people for your problems. Nice. Do not blame other people for your problems. Be responsible for your actions. Now, I keep saying for different sutras in the book that this is worth making a poster. Make a poster, print it out, make a poster, put it on the wall in front of you. Why? So that you will see it again and again. This is like one of those. We have problems in life. Keep in mind that it is us who have created them at many levels. First of all, karmically, as the law of karma tells us, the present situation is a fruit of our past karma. Number two, it is when you, the soul, planned for this incarnation, you made some choices. You said, yes, I need to learn this lesson, this lesson, this lesson. And out of those choices, the difficult situations in your life will come. At least that is what we have been told by Guruji. And in the holy books, that is what, or the spiritual books, that is what we are told, that you have created this life, you have chosen this life as the soul before your birth. You have created the script of this life, like a film as a script, and the movie as it is shot, it follows that script. Similarly, you have created a script for yourself, for this life. And so you see, that is the important thing to do here is, you say, I am responsible. Now, the word responsible can mean many things. One way of looking at it, you break it up into two words: response, able. I have the ability to make the right response. Please keep in mind the lords of karma, all the great beings who are sort of managing the human race, they are super wise. They will not give you a situation that they think you cannot handle. Every situation you will face in life, they know you can handle it. You may doubt yourself, but they know that you have the ability. Yeah. So, two things here. Excuse me. Number one, you have created these situations. Number two, you have the ability to deal with these problems. All right. Okay. Sutra number 3. Actually, we'll read the next 3 sutras together. You have tried your old method. It doesn't work. You have been hitting your head against the wall. The wall is still there. It doesn't work. Why don't you try something new? Don't get stuck in the mud. Don't you think you sound like a broken record? Don't you think it's time to change the music? Don't you think it's time to get unstuck? It's time to be free. So free of what? Free of, you know, your attachments, of your connections, and so on. And what I think Master is telling us here is that we need to be flexible. We learned one particular way of dealing with the problem, maybe from our parents, maybe from our friends, maybe from someone else, or maybe we read it in a book. Now we are trying to solve the problem. It is not getting solved. So Master says it didn't work. It's like you've been repeatedly doing the same thing again and again, but not getting the desired result. So after trying a few times, you need to change your approach. You need to change the way in which you are approaching the problem. You remember 1 or 2 pages back, there was a sutra where Master told us you have to flow like water. You remember that? I think it was uh, page 17, sutra number 2. You must flow like water. The second sutra. So here you have to remember that फ्लेक्सिबल होना है हमको. हमें पानी जैसे साइड से निकल जाओ, लाइक वाटर कैनॉट बी स्टॉप्ड. इट विल फाइंड अ वे. It may be to the left, it may be to the right, it may be above, it may be below, it may just pass through, but water will find a way. Similarly, we have to find a way. And if one way doesn't work, try another way. Yeah. When Master says mud, I think many ways we can interpret mud, but one way that I would think about it is, and it also correlates with the old method. He says you have tried your old method. You see, the old method or the mud is when we are stuck in body consciousness, where you are consumed or you are full of this belief, I am the body. That consciousness is dominating you. So that is your old method, where you approach a problem from the perspective of I am body. Maybe you need to change it. You need to start approaching the problem from I am the soul. Are we communicating? I mean, this is an important thing to I think, where that Master is trying to tell us. How do you get free? You get free by rising to a higher level. Take your consciousness higher. Then you can see the problem differently. You can see it from a different perspective. You see, you remember there was a sutra earlier, either in this book or one of the previous books, where Master talked about difficult people. He said, some people are in your life and they are difficult people, and you have to be grateful to them because they are there to develop you, to make you stronger, to make you a better person. You remember this, I hope. Now, for example, now that is a shift in perspective from your I am the body or the ahamkar perspective. You may think, oh, why is this person bothering me? This person is bad. But from a different perspective, you say, oh, okay, this person is there in my life to help me become more tolerant, to become more forgiving, to become more patient. समझ रहे हैं ना? तो नजरिया बदलेंगे, आपकी अप्रोच बदलेगी. Don't stay stuck in the same approach constantly. Yeah. So I think here Master is telling us about being flexible. All right, let's move on. Fear is an absolute necessity. It keeps us alive. But you have to distinguish between fear based on reality and fear based on imagination. So what does it mean? Fear based on reality? That means a realistic assessment of fear. So for example, fire can cause burn. So I need to be careful. But fear based on imagination would be that you think that, let me not put this here because it may catch fire. Well, why will it catch fire unless there is something that will set fire to it? So this fear based on reality, Master says, is absolute necessity. It is actually a part of our survival instinct. Have you heard the term survival instinct? Instinct for survival. Now, being afraid of things that can harm us, that is a part of that survival instinct, necessary for us. Otherwise, we will do foolish things and keep putting our life in danger. Not a smart thing to do. But sometimes we get driven by imagined fears. Like I remember there was this elderly relative in my family member, and supposing, let's say, today is the 25th of November, and she has a train to catch on the 30th of November, let's say, and the train is, let us say, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So from now, she will start imagining, oh, what will happen? How will we reach the station? Maybe our car will not start. What happens if we can't get a cab? What happens if the road to the station, railway station is blocked? What happens? So she will keep imagining fears, keep imagining fears. So that is just an example of fears that are imaginary. There is no basis. Why would you think that your car will not start? Okay, maybe you say, maybe because of that, let us keep half an hour margin. All right, enough. But then you say, oh, but supposing, at that time cab is not available. Supposing this is not happening. Supposing that happens. Now, there is no end to, the what ifs. You have to be realistic. What is the chance? What is the possibility of that? What is the probability of that? So here the virtue we are reminded of is accurate perception. And for accurate perception to improve, the virtue really involved is honesty and non-lying. I hope you remember when we studied the virtues in the character development Golden Lotus Sutra, their master explained that this intelligence, accurate perception, this is improved it is based on the virtue, honesty and non-lying. So work on that. Secondly, industriousness, mental industriousness. You study the situation and then this is real fear, this is imagined fear. You remember last time we talked about circle of influence and circle of. You remember we talked about the three circles: the circle of concern, circle of control, and circle of influence. So why things that are completely out of your control, those are what you can think as imaginary fears. There's nothing you can do about them. Why worry? Mother, why do get all anxious about them? And this, as healers, this is usually these fears are centered around the throat chakra. And the problem with these is that when if you are always imagining fears, आप है ना हर बार काल्पनिक भय के से ग्रस्त रहते हैं अगर, तो your life becomes very limited and restricted. You are unable to live life properly, or in the best way that is possible. You remember when we started this book, I think very very early in the book, master said something about living an intense extraordinary life. Do you remember that? याद है आपको एक सूत्र था where master said that you should live an intense extraordinary life. It was somewhere in the beginning. Yeah, page 3, the last sutra in the same book. Live an intense extraordinary life. Now, if you are constantly consumed by imagined fears, how will you live an intense, extraordinary life? Not possible. So you have to get over, and the way to get over them is to practice, is to develop your accurate perception, your ability to distinguish between real fears, because real fears you need to do something about them. Imagined fears, not much to do about them. All right. And also what happens is that when we are constantly consumed with fears, we are more likely to engage in shortcuts, do things that are not entirely ethical. So that is another problem that gets associated. You know, if you ask a psychiatrist, I believe in psychology, they explain that violent people are essentially people who have fear inside them. You see, if you see an animal on the road, let's say you are walking and a snake crosses your path. Now, if you know that, if I leave the snake alone, the snake will leave me alone, you will just, withdraw and let the snake pass. But if you are very fearful, you are likely to, oh, this snake will bite me. So you are likely to attack it. So that's what I meant. All right, let's move forward. You must not lose courage. Do not be scared. Formulate a good strategy. Let's read the next sutra also. Excuse me. In the moment of weakness, do not identify yourself with your body or with your emotion. Remember who you are, what you are. So, who are you? What are you? Are you the body or the bodies, or are you the soul? So, that you have to remember. So, this is again a very beautiful and a very practical sutra, because here what Master is telling us is that it is in moments of weakness. What is moments of weakness? When you are faced with difficulty, when you think, oh, I cannot solve this problem. Oh, this problem is too much. I will, I cannot do anything about it. That is where you are admitting your own weakness. So at that time, it is very likely that I will slip into the I am body mode, that consciousness of I am body, and will start doing something that is unethical and thereby generate more negative karma. So what Master is saying is, do not lose courage. What does it mean, do not lose courage? I think, to me, what it means is, I should not lose my trust in God. I should not lose my trust in the Guru. I should not lose my trust in the path, in the divine plan. At this time, when I'm faced with weakness, when I am feeling weak, when I'm faced with difficulty, more important to do what is correct, what is right, what is ethical, what is proper. You remember in this section, the heading, I think page, no, sorry, the previous one. on page 11. The heading was, what is the use of getting the entire world if one loses his soul? Right? So just because we feel weak, we do something unethical, improper, we have lost our soul in trying to gain the world. So in times like these, when Master says, remember who you are, what you are, more important to remind yourself that you are the soul and not the body. And personally, I can attest to that. I can attest to that, that when in, I mean, not right from the beginning of my life, but in the last few years, when I've somewhat started to understand Master's teachings, I have tried to keep this as my mantra. I have tried to keep this as my mantra, and I have tried to maintain this, that when things are difficult, more important for me to remind myself that I am the soul. And for this, one suggestion is, of course, you do your spiritual practices, but maybe several times in the day, just remind yourself, just do the soul affirmation. You know the soul affirmation. I am not the body, I am not the emotions, I am not the thoughts, I am the soul, I am a spiritual being of divine intelligence, divine love, and divine power. Do that. Repeat that. Our phones have a lot of functions. One of the functions is to set reminders or to set alarm. You set alarm for 3 4 times in the day. Maybe first thing when you get up in the morning, just before breakfast, just before lunch, maybe sometime in the afternoon, sometime before your evening meal, or any other time. But 3 4 times, just a reminder. It only takes 2 minutes. Just remind yourself who you are, what you are. And then slowly you will find that when difficult times will come, that memory will remain, that consciousness will remain. या तो जब वो मुश्किल के समय में आएंगे तो एकदम से you will not slip into the old method of body consciousness, but you will remember, oh, I am the soul. It is more important to avoid doing something improper, incorrect. Yes, I think we should stop here. In any case, this section is got over.